Chairman of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, Ms. Frere de Villiers, Director General and Chief Executive of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, Dr. Chipman, Mr. Nick Oppenheimer, sponsor of this lecture series, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be here at the International Institute for Strategic Studies and an honor to speak on the challenges of nation building in Africa with a special focus on our country, Rwanda. This is a topic that is pertinent to us in Africa, but it is equally important for developed countries since nation building is a continual process. Let me start by expounding on what, in my view, constitutes nation building in general before I move on to discuss what nation building has entailed in Africa and in my country. Nation building is a long and challenging political process, but one that leaders, together with the citizenry, must undertake with seriousness. We must understand that most nations have their unique circumstances, and each one throughout history has built and developed itself around certain distinguishing core features. The first of these has always been the conscious cultivation of a national identity, the sense of belonging based on shared values, tradition, history, and aspirations. National identity is the foundation of social cohesion. The second is the establishment of institutions and laws of governance, which formalize the relationship between the leaders and the citizens and the expectation of service delivery. The third feature is the participation of citizens in the governance process by choosing a system that serves them best, electing or selecting their leaders and playing an active role in decision making. Then there is economic transformation. It is only right for the people to expect a qualitative improvement in their lives. Part of nation building, therefore, includes establishing the climate and mechanisms for economic development for the whole nation. It is worth mentioning that the process of nation building can only be internally generated and led. It cannot be achieved from the outside, however well-meaning. This does not mean that we can't learn from outside or that we do not appreciate support for our initiatives. For a country coming out of conflict, the first priority should be one of stabilization and security, which requires strong internal political leadership, systems, and institutions. In essence, this is a precondition for successful nation building. There is need for restoration of order, peace, and stability for this to happen. All these features must be conceived and implemented within a broad vision of the nation. Distinguished audience, for over 60 years of post-colonial rule, nation building in most African countries has been an uphill task as a result of the disruption and fragmentation of our societies caused by colonization. There is no doubt that colonialism created some conditions that made it difficult for newly independent African countries to function as proper nation states, and the ramifications are still felt today. However, this cannot absolve the failures and weaknesses of some post-colonial African governments who have tended to indulge in a blame game. That's not helpful. The fact of the matter is that we cannot shy away from the heavy responsibility we bear of managing our own affairs and leading our people. Today, the Africans and African leaders are challenged to alleviate poverty and ignorance and to bridge the technological gap necessary for sustainable development. Where this responsibility is not taken seriously, you see weak states and you see failure in nation building. Africans also inherited weak administrative structures, inappropriate and not tailored to the needs of our countries. I won't dwell much on the Cold War and the competition for influence that engendered proxy wars, which caused instability and slowed the process of nation building.